The heart is a really important organ in the body, and it's responsible for passing blood or circulating blood right through our entire body. It looks like a complex organ, but it's not. And I just want you to think of it as being a big muscle and a big pump. First thing we need to look at is where it is in the human body, and it's located in the chest just very slightly to the left side. When we look at a diagram of a heart, we also look at it from this perspective as though we're looking at it in somebody. So this will be the left side of the heart and this will be the right side of the heart in the diagram. Most diagrams will be this way, but one way to remember it too is that the left side is always the thicker side. The right side is slightly thinner. So the heart has 4 chambers. If you divide this up, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. The top chambers are called atrium and the bottom chambers are called ventricles. Now, simply put, these are on the right side, so this is your right atrium and your right ventricle. These are on the left side, so you guessed it, left atrium and left ventricle. This bit in the middle, this thick bit, is called the septum. The heart has 2 main functions. One is to pump blood to the lungs so that red blood cells can pick up oxygen. The other is to pump blood to the body so that cells can get the oxygen that they need to undergo cellular respiration to make energy. So this is the way that the blood will flow. This side of the heart, the left side, is a lot thicker. And it's a lot thicker because this side of the heart is the side that pumps the blood right around the body. If we have a look, we will see the valves in the middle, which I'll talk about later on, but they're a one-way direction. And you can see here that blood goes in that direction through the gates. And they go through this thick section here and away from the heart to the body. And we draw arrows there to indicate the direction of the blood like that. Once the blood has gone through the body, it loses its oxygen to the cells, and thus the blood stops being that red colour that it forms when its oxygen reacts with hemoglobin. It makes it nice and bright and red. So after it's left the body, we represent it as a blue colour. So it comes up into the heart, and again we can see here there's a one-way gate. So we draw the blood coming through here, through the one-way gate, and up, out towards the lungs. And it goes back to the lungs there to pick up more oxygen. Once it's been to the lungs, the blood has oxygen again, so it leaves the lungs. And it's a red colour again. And it goes into the heart to be pumped around to the body yet again. And this is the continual motion of blood to the body, loses oxygen, around through the heart, back to the lungs, to get oxygen again. Back to the heart, back to the body. Now that we know the direction of blood flow, it's easy for us to label the different major blood vessels coming inside and outside of the heart. Remember that arteries are always away from the heart. So here we have these 2 arteries here because the blood is flowing away from the heart. This is called the pulmonary artery, and the word pulmonary means lungs. So this word here means to the lungs, away from the heart. Here it's coming from the lungs to the heart. So this is the pulmonary vein. This major blood vessel here is responsible for the blood coming from the heart and being pumped all the way to the body. And it's an artery because the artery is coming away from the heart. The way I remember the name is, it's a big strong artery and it aorta pump blood all the way around the body. So it's called the aorta. And last but not least, we have this receiving vein here, which is coming to the heart. And this is called the Vena Cava. Now these valves that I've been talking about, which are located here and also located up here, these are responsible for one-way direction of blood movement. We also saw valves earlier when we were talking about veins. They make blood only go in one direction. This one's called the tricuspid valve, separating the atrium and the ventricle on the right side, and this one here is called the bicuspid valve, sometimes called the mitral valve as well. The way I like to remember it is that you try before you buy. So the tri is on this side and the bi is on this side. So the tricuspid valve and your bicuspid valve. There's two other valves. This is your aortic valve, obviously because it's on the aorta, and this here is your pulmonary valve because it's on your pulmonary artery. This is what valves actually look like. This is taken from surgery of a heart. And they almost look like little flaps with bits of string hanging off them, and it stops blood from flowing backwards. What happens though is if they're not working properly, it's called a prolapse valve, and blood can trickle in to the wrong direction into the heart. And this is called a heart murmur. The heart beats approximately 70 times per minute, and of course this rate increases if you're exercising or doing something strenuous, but it makes this lub-dub sound, lub-dub sound. And if you've ever listened through a stethoscope, you'll have heard that sound. So what's actually happening when the heart beats? The first thing that happens is the pulmonary and the aortic valve snap shut, and that's these ones here, and they snap shut to allow pressure to build up inside the heart. The second thing is that both of the atrium will contract, so the top two chambers will squeeze the blood and squeeze the blood into the ventricles. This is the dub sound that you hear, so the second of the lub-dub. The third thing that happens is the tricuspid and bicuspid valves will snap shut, so the ones between the atrium and the ventricle, these snap shut. And then the ventricles contract, and this is the big squeeze here that pushes the blood out of the heart and either to the lungs or right around the entire body. And this is the lub sound that you hear in the lub-dub of the heartbeat. What causes the heart to beat are things called pacemaker cells, and they're in one area called a sinus node, and this is located in your right atrium. This controls the rate of heartbeat, and it's almost an electrical signal which causes these cells to contract and starts the whole heart beating off. For people who don't have this working properly, there's an alternative, and this is called an artificial pacemaker, and it's a tiny little device like this with a battery in it that's attached to a wire, and this is inserted into the actual heart like this, with the electrodes or the wires going into the right atrium to trigger off that response for the heart to beat. And if you have a look at someone that's got one, you'll actually visibly be able to see it sitting under the skin like that. So I just wanted to run through in summary the way in which the blood flows through the hearts and how to label it. First thing to do is figure out which side is the fat side or the thicker side, and you'll know that this is the left side. Once we've determined that, it's quite easy to draw the blood flow. So the thick side, it must run through the valve in that direction, and it will come up, out of here, and to the body. And remember, draw your arrows. Once it's left the cells and it's gone through the body, it will appear blue because it's lost its oxygen. So it needs to go back into the heart, and remember, it can go in one direction through the valve, so it must come through this blood vessel and back up, out, and into the lungs. In the lungs, the red blood cells collect more oxygen, so it comes out of the lungs and into the left atrium again. Once we've established the direction of the blood flow, labelling becomes quite simple. Label the chambers first. So the top two chambers are your atrium, this is on the left side, this is on the right side. Your bottom two chambers are ventricles, again left and right ventricle. Now take note of the direction of the blood moving in and out of the heart to and from the lungs. If it's moving out of the heart, this has to be the pulmonary artery, and if it's moving into the heart from the lungs, this must be the pulmonary vein. We've got two here left to name. This top one, or sorry, the side one here is the Vena Cava. It's coming from the body. And the top one here is the aorta. Remember, it aorta pump all the way around the body. Got two valves that we need to know the name of. We try before we buy. So this is your tricuspid valve and this is your bicuspid valve.